Hello and welcome everyone to the second Going Around Things video, where we're still on the subject of safely going around parked vehicles, but this time the parked vehicle is on the other side of the street. So let's call this video Part 2. Now let's just go ahead and dive right in, since you probably have a fair understanding of the process from the first video on this topic. Now in this situation, typically you might think that this is a no-brainer. It's the other driver who has to do the right thing and hold back so that I can get through the area first. Because after all, the parked vehicle is on their side of the street. But you have to remember, technically there is room for 3 vehicles to fit. Now the reason I've repeated this is, if you get caught in a situation where the other driver is not a safe-minded driver, well, their response to this situation could catch you off guard. There's many drivers who would have no problem charging into this tight-fitting scenario. So I always keep this in mind when I'm driving. I never expect the other driver will do what I would do, because honestly, there's a lot of drivers who could use a major brush-up course. So back to this picture here. Now, the only question that I would have at this moment would be, is the oncoming vehicle going to hang back and allow me time to go around the parked vehicle first, or do I have to take my own safety into my own hands and hang back myself? Now, this is what I would want to see to answer that question. So, at first, I see the vehicles approaching at a steady speed. And then I begin to notice that the vehicle is not approaching towards me at the same rate of speed that they were like 2 to 3 seconds before. So that makes me believe that they might be hanging back to allow me time to clear the area around the parked vehicle. But I'm not quite positive yet. So I'm just going to allow like 2 more seconds to pass just to be sure. Now, this means I've been watching the approaching vehicle for roughly 6 to 8 seconds now. So at this point, I really do believe that they are slowing for my benefit. So now, I've got to do my part. Which means I need to keep going and get the heck out of there so that the oncoming vehicle can take their turn. The thing is, I don't want to be hesitant and afraid, because there's no reason for that. I was careful. I watched the scenario play out those few extra seconds just to verify that they were in fact slowing to give me space to pass. Plus the speed I'm driving at in side street areas, I can easily stop if I've misread the situation. So I just need to trust myself and get out of there. Now, if that driver had moved over to the right a little bit and possibly added a turn signal, well then I would have known for certain that they were creating a safety buffer, and it probably would have saved some time. But you're not always going to get that. So it's just a do your best with what you got kind of situation. Okay, I just want to point something out here. In real life, the driver of the approaching vehicle, who is pulling over to allow you time to pass, well, they may not apply their left turn signal. In fact, you're probably not going to see this too often, because unless the approaching driver has taken some type of a defensive driving course, they probably won't signal. Because if it's not required by law, it won't be included in your driver's manual that people need to study from to get their learner's permit. You see, the thing with being a safe-minded driver is, just because something isn't required by law doesn't mean that it's not to your advantage to do it. It's like you don't have to drive with your headlights on during the day, but it sure adds to your visibility, which adds to your safety. Something to think about. Okay, let's move on and talk about a few other things you might come across. Now, speaking of advantage, if you're finding these videos are giving you an advantage to becoming a safe-minded driver, then do me a solid and hit that like button. And you'll want to subscribe to keep those advantages coming. And okay, I'm done. Now, an approaching driver can also speed up to try and clear the area first. This usually happens when the approaching driver is a more confident, assertive driver. And to be clear, they're not doing anything wrong by doing this, as long as they're staying within the legal speed limit or the safest speed limit for the conditions at the time, and they're not taking any risks. This can be an effective way to handle the situation. Now, unfortunately, there will be times when the approaching driver is just being aggressive, and they have no concern for anyone's safety. And I guarantee you, the word safety buffer is not in their vocabulary. So as soon as I really start to believe that that's the type of driver I'm dealing with, well then I start slowing my vehicle immediately. I don't want to wait until I'm 100% certain because every second matters in a close-up situation like this. So I just want to start braking right away, which will give me extra time to brake in a more calm, safe manner. Now, because this is such a close-up situation, it's quite likely that I will need to come to a complete stop. And if that's the case, as soon as I realize I need to stop, I also want to move over to my right as much as possible to give the situation some extra space. Because after all, I don't know why this person misjudged the space to begin with. Was it just a mistake, or are they impaired in some way? Either way, I don't want to be involved. Okay, we're basically at the end of the video, but before I let you go, I really want to stress this fact. In all of the different scenarios that I've played out for you so far in these last two videos, the most important factor is you must monitor the approaching vehicle because that's the only way to accurately gauge any speed changes. And then those speed changes give you a big clue as to what the other driver is most likely planning to do. So basically, as soon as I see there's an approaching vehicle, I start monitoring them right away, from as far away distance as possible. And then I continue checking up on them as part of my area scan. Alrighty, so important factor covered. Now, don't miss out on our Tidbits Extra video this Friday, where we'll have our first chat on risk assessment. And then I'll see you next Tuesday over at video number 3 for this series, where we'll talk about going around things other than vehicles for a change. Fun stuff. And that's it. We're done. So thanks for watching, and as always, take care. And if you have a few extra seconds, I could sure use your help. And all I need you to do is leave a comment for this video. Thank you very much in advance.